Good morning. This is the Southern Fried Yankee, and welcome back to my YouTube page. Hopefully, you've all watched the warning video, so you'll know what you're in for as we go along on this YouTube journey. Today, something that's been on my mind is liberty, freedom, and the Bill of Rights, and how they all work. A lot of people nowadays use liberty and freedom interchangeably, and to a certain general extent, yes, they are, but they each have specific connotations or meanings that separate them if you look into them more deeply. For instance, let's start with freedom. Freedom, in its most simple form, means that you can move about without restriction. You're not confined to any area. There's no one monitoring you to tell you where you can and cannot go. You pretty much have the right to go just about anywhere you want. Now, by that standard, almost any country in the world is a free country. Okay? Cuba would be a free country. Those people can move about, except for certain restricted areas. Communist China is a free country, technically. Okay, their people can move around unrestrictedly, except for specific areas where they're not allowed to. Even the former Soviet Union would have been a free country by that standard. Now, liberty, yes, it can also be used interchangeably with freedom in that manner, but liberty also has a deeper meaning. Liberty means that you can think, you can say whatever you happen to be feeling without fear of consequences from the government. You won't be arrested. You won't be thrown in jail. You won't be re-educated. It also means you can associate with whomever you want and discuss whatever you want without fear of the same things: jail, re-education, having your entire family imprisoned, as happens now by that standard. Places like Cuba, Communist China, and the former Soviet Union were not free countries. They did not respect the liberty of their people. In fact, they believed their people did not deserve liberty at all. They would tell them they did, and they would tell them they had liberty, but no, they didn't. And they don't. So, with that in mind, in an attempt to preserve liberty for our citizens, our founders added the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. And to explain the intent of the Bill of Rights, there's a preface to it, a 2-paragraph preface to the Bill of Rights. And I have my handy dandy pocket Constitution here, and I'm going to read that to you right now. Amendments to the Constitution. The conventions of a number of the states having, at the time of adopting the Constitution, expressed a desire, in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its constitution. What that generally means is The founders saw the possibility that down the line, the government would abuse the Constitution and twist its meaning so as to become restrictive on the people and amass power to itself. And so, what they did was they declared further restrictions on what the government was not permitted to do so that the people would have more confidence in the government. Because if you remember, at the time the Constitution was ratified, we had just gotten done with a really lengthy war to get rid of one tyranny, and we didn't want to establish our own. Now, the second paragraph reads, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America, in Congress assembled, 2/3 of both houses concurring, that the following articles be proposed to the legislatures of the several states as amendments to the Constitution of the United States, all or any of which articles, when ratified by 3/4 of said legislatures, to be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the said Constitution. Now, what happened there was Congress drafted the Bill of Rights. They ratified the Bill of Rights, but before it could be added as an official part of the U.S. Constitution, they had to send copies out to each of the individual states. Now, each of these states, state legislatures, agreed to this Bill of Rights. And so it became incorporated into the Constitution. Now, the problem with the majority of American society today is that they believe that the Bill of Rights grants or enumerates specific things that the people are allowed to do. We, the people, are allowed to do the things laid out in Amendments 1 through 8. The reason I didn't add 9 and 10 is because 9 and 10 are further declarations for that the national government needs to take notice of. 1 through 8 deal with specific things for the people. But if you read them carefully, Amendments 1 through 8 don't merely say what the people have a right to do under the Constitution, which is to say the Constitution grants us these rights. What the amendments actually declare is what the government is not allowed to do to the people of the United States. Liberties the government is not allowed to take, rights of the people that the government is not allowed to restrict, restrain, or infringe upon in any manner. Amendment 1 starts off with, Congress shall make no law. Okay? That's not saying the people have a right to religion, which, yes, it does. But it's specifically saying that the government has no authority to institute a state religion or restrict the rights of the people to practice their religions, whatever they may be. It also goes into freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, and freedom to petition the government for redress of grievances. The government has no authority to restrict any of those rights. That's why it starts off with, Congress shall make no law. Amendment 2, okay, that's been in the news a lot. I'm sure most everybody knows the text, but it ends with, shall not be infringed. That right there is yet another restriction on the powers of government. Government cannot say that that the people of the United States have no right to be armed. Okay, Amendment 3 is about quartering of soldiers. And it says, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house, etc., etc. Another restriction on the government. Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Okay, telling the government, you cannot do this. You do not have this authority. Amendment 5, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in case of rising, etc., etc. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's a whole huge restriction on the government about what they cannot do against we, the people, the lawful citizens of the United States. Amendment 6, this one's telling the government what they must provide to the people. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. To be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, compulsory processes, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Government must provide and or respect those rights. Amendment 7. In suits of common law, where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. Amendment 8, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. All right, Amendment 9 says just because those are the specific rights in the Bill of Rights, people may have more, okay, as they may come up in legal proceedings or whatever, and they simply because a right is not listed in the Bill of Rights doesn't mean the government must not respect it nor restrict it. And Amendment 10, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Oh, I'm sorry, that was number 9. Amendment 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Okay, so where it comes to the rights of the people, essentially, the benefit of the doubt, we should err on the side of respecting a questionable situation as a right of the people and not as a power of the government or the power of the government to restrict such a right. So, as we can see, the people of the United States have more power than the government would have you believe, especially if you follow the news and what your politicians tell you and the way they phrase things. Be careful. Remember, the purpose of a hierarchy is to build its power and consolidate as much power as it can to itself. It may start off with good intentions, but we all know about the road to hell and what it's paved with. So, with that in mind, this is Southern Fried Yankee signing off.